Welcome to the Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. I'm so happy you found us. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-Fiber One News Radio, KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak Show. Coming up on the phone line here, we have Judge Dan Goodell to talk a little bit about jury trials resuming. Spencer and I talked about this throughout the week on the show, and since March, it has been held back from jury trials because of coronavirus. Dan Goodell, good morning, sir. Good to hear from you.
Good morning, Jeff. Nice to talk to you this morning as well.
So we have been reporting on this week, going off of the press release that you sent out, and Mason County Superior Court, District Court, and the Shelton Municipal Court will resume jury trials in July after pausing them in March. And the first potential trials could begin as early as Monday, the 6th. So my first question is, how's everybody doing in the court and all the folks that work around you in the court, and what have you been doing since March for these trials?
Well, let's step back just a little bit further than that. We do much more than just trials in our courts. We also have many dockets that deal with family law, civil litigation, dependencies where the child is removed from the home, juvenile law, and of course criminal law, and many other areas of law. And we have been fortunate here in Mason County. We have a very good IT department, and by April, we were able to start holding virtual hearings using the Zoom platform. And it's one of those things that I didn't know what Zoom was until April.
Right.
And soon we were running all of our dockets on a regular basis following the Zoom platform, and where people are able to virtually appear in court. The judge is there. The community is able to dial in and listen as well. So it's an open court. And so that has been working, not as well as in person, but it has been working. But one thing it doesn't do is give the opportunity to have people in the courtroom. And which is very important in our jury system, to have the defendant able to confront those who are accusing, and also for the jurors to be there to observe and see the witnesses and the evidence live in person, which is a crucial part of a jury trial. So while we've been moving forward, we haven't been able to move forward on jury trials.
You know, I feel like I saw on the news one time about a month ago maybe that they had thought to try a jury over Zoom, and, halfway through, some of the people got up and walked away, or their phones rang, or you saw them playing video games or something, and I can imagine when you're in there, you're focused on the case at hand, whereas if you were at home on Zoom, the temptation to be distracted is a little greater.
Yeah. Well, that would not have happened in Washington State, but wherever it might have happened. But just think about it. One of the key components of a trial, and the reason that we have a community of jurors, is that they get to watch and see the witnesses. Sometimes you'll have two witnesses get up on the stand who will say two totally different things. And the jurors are there to watch, listen, and pay attention and try to determine, okay, which of these explanations, what happened, is more accurate than the other one. And you really can't do that very well with a video feed from some camera. So I think that it is a sound principle that we do jury trials in person.
So you mentioned the fact that the juries need to be able to watch, listen, take notes, be aware of the surroundings, and you can't really do that if you personally are feeling unsafe in the situation. So what's going to move forward, and how are we going to help with the distancing and the masks and stuff like that?
Right. So what we have during this time period, and it's been for the way that the court views things, it's been a very long time. We have been able to work more with IT and also with our facilities. So now, in the past, well, let's start with the past. In the past, if I'm not sure if you've ever served on a jury or been involved in a jury selection process, but if you were, you would know that the normal is when people would come in and all pile into the gallery of the courtroom, shoulder to shoulder, and we have these benches in our Superior Court where we would fit 60 people in there, shoulder to shoulder. And as you could understand, that doesn't work anymore. So what we've gone to is, first of all, we no longer will be using the jury box. Our jurors are going to be sitting out in the gallery. And we're going to be needing to use 2 courtrooms in order to do one trial. Okay, because we will, even the jury assembly area, people have to be socially distanced in that area as well. And so instead of using one courtroom to do the entire jury trial, we're going to be using 2 courtrooms so the jurors can be in 2 different places given what's going on in the trial. Okay, they will have to be in the courtroom as the trial commences and we see the witness and that type of stuff. But that whole selection process will be utilizing 2 different courtrooms. Some of it will be virtual, some of it will be live. But in all instances, the jurors are going to be able to be at least 6 feet apart. Everybody's going to be wearing masks, and we're going to do our best to try to reduce the likelihood of someone being exposed to the virus.
One of the other protocols I see here is that only a limited number of jurors are summoned in the first place, so to avoid those kind of mass gatherings at the onset of the week. How will that work, though, if people are... Well, one, if they're ill and unable to come to jury, as that's one of the other things. If you're sick, you should stay home. But then are you concerned, too, with people perhaps abusing that sickness as a way to either, one, get out of it or not adhere to the masking protocols?
Well, our jury system really does rely upon a citizenry who are stepping up, recognizing their duty to contribute to our justice system. You know, it's said that jury duty is one of the highest privileges of being a United States citizen. You know, and it really is the purest form of government of the people, by the people, and for the people, when you think about it, because it is direct relationship, okay? And I think that a lot of our citizens recognize that. And that's what, first of all, when you get a summons, lawfully you are to respond. But secondly, a lot of people do, okay? And we also recognize in this environment is different, okay? In fact, on our jury summons, on the back side, there is now a box that you can check that if you are in a more susceptible situation, a vulnerable person to the COVID virus, you can say, check that box, say, I'm vulnerable. Please delay my service, and we will do that without asking any further questions. Okay, so we do rely upon people being forthright in their approach. And on that vulnerability, we do follow the CDC guidelines, 65 years or older, or if you have any number of those conditions that they list that create more vulnerability to the virus, or if you're living in a household with someone like that. Okay, so we do not wish to put people in harm's way by moving forward with these jury trials, but we recognize that there comes a time where we need to deal with these matters.
What about protections for you, the judges, the lawyers, the witnesses, the bailiffs, all the other support that are there in the courtroom? How's that going to be handled?
Okay, and so the facilities has gone through our courtrooms and has made some modifications. And again, the part of the changes that we made to our configuration, if you can picture, if you can look on TV, you normally see the two attorney tables. They're facing the bench, and the attorney is next to their client, and they're whispering back and forth in each other's ears, and they're making arguments, and even the two tables are less than 6 feet apart. Well, what we've had to do is that we've actually turned the tables so that they are now perpendicular with the bench, so that the attorney and the client are able to be 6 feet apart. The two tables are more than 6 feet apart. They will be wearing masks as well. It does create a challenge. Oftentimes there's a need for a confidential conversation between the attorney and the client during a proceeding. And, well, how does that occur? Well, IT came up with telephones on the benches, on the desks, that they can dial back and forth, and, of course, they can write notes and that kind of stuff. We have plexiglass that's been installed so that between the witness and the judge, which is a rule of close proximity, we can't be 6 feet apart, so we got plexiglass. Same with plexiglass in front of the clerk desk, where papers are handed up and exhibits are handed up, and even exhibits now. We're accustomed to having documents passing around and items passing around. Well, those are all going to be scanned in, and the witness is going to be looking at a monitor. And if it's something that the jurors need to see and it's admitted as evidence, they will be receiving it electronically. And so those type of changes are being made or have been made so that we are prepared to move forward.
Mason County Superior Court, Mason County District Court, and Shelton Municipal Court are doing the best they can with the information and the abilities because of the rooms and all that to make sure that everybody is safe as we move forward here. And the first potential trials could be starting as early as next week. The jury summons have gone out. And again, as Judge Goodell said, it is mandatory to respond to those summons when you get them. And there are some options if you are in the high-risk category. Well, it's good to hear from you and good to know that you and everyone at the court is safe and well and working through this. What other counties have other counties gone to jury trials yet? And how do you know if that's working well?
The timeline that we're working under was a timeline that was established by the state Supreme Court. Okay, so it was the state Supreme Court that suspended the jury trials back in March, and they suspended them through next week. Okay, and so for the most part, courts are not commencing until next week, and some courts are even happening after that time period. Okay. So there have been some counties, as I understand it, that have made some attempts, and I can't tell you what their successes or lack of successes are at this point.
Well, I know the good folks in Mason County will work hard to get this going, to get the jury trials resuming. Judge Goodell, good to talk with you again. Be safe out there, and we'll talk again soon if there's more news to share from the court.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
From the I-Fiber One News Radio studios, you're listening to Daybreak.
Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes here on the Daybreak Show, and we welcome in via the phone. It's Central Mason Fire and EMS Chief Mike Patti, also Shelton Fire Marshal. How you doing, buddy?
Fine, Jeff. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Well, it's good to have you on as we are right up against the Independence Day holiday. All week long, the stands have been opened for folks to buy the fireworks outside of the city of Shelton city limits. And this year is going to be a real unique one with coronavirus, as you and I have talked over the years, how the push has been on to get people to go to these large-scale professional displays. Now, with those not readily available as much, folks are likely to scale back and hopefully be safe while they're out there. What are you looking at this summer in particular, and what's some advice for folks in the city of Shelton and then all throughout the county?
Well, it's going to be really tough this year, Jeff, with there's not much of a choice for public displays this year because, frankly, there are none. So outside the city, people are going to be buying fireworks and shooting them outside the city limits, plus the restrictions now of having to wear the face masks and the social distancing. So people are going to have to be real cognizant of wearing the face masks and being socially distant. But the common sense requirements of, having an adult shooting off your fireworks, having somebody there who will watch out for the dead fireworks and not coming up close to them if they don't go off, having an adult shoot them off, are still going to apply. And having two tribal reservations within close proximity to our county, remembering that there are state legal fireworks that are purchased at the fireworks stands versus those fireworks that are bought on tribal properties that are legal on the tribal properties but not legal off the tribal properties. We have to be cognizant of that also.
Throughout the week, Spencer and I have been talking about this in the sense that I see what you're saying between tribal land and county land, or tribal land and city land, but even within the area of the city of Shelton, there are portions that are, right across the street, you're in the county. And I know over the years that this has turned into when folks have to, either they engage with law enforcement or not. It's more of an educational campaign over the last couple of years. But as we've looked to with the dryness in our areas, how is that playing a factor? I don't think we've had a chance to talk about wildfire season as well this year.
No, we've been fairly lucky, and it's been kind of a cooler season this year. But this week has been fairly dry, and we're looking at a warmer and drier 4th of July than we've had in years past. So we're a little cautious this year in what is in store for us. And also on the educational side of it, I've talked to Chief Moody, and I've talked to Sheriff Salisbury, and they're also being a little cautious as well. And when I talked to Chief Moody about what kind of a stance the Shelton Police Department are taking this year, they will remain in an education mode. But if we have a lot of flagrant violations as far as the fireworks enforcement, they will take an enforcement stance this year. So chances are you're going to see some citations being written if we have some flagrant violations.
We understand, too, of course, as you mentioned, with the social distancing and the mask wearing can inhibit a person's ability perhaps to see whether or not the fireworks fully went off before they are put into the bucket of water. Those masks can also get hot and I'm sure have some sort of smoke problem as well as it gets kind of in your mask maybe or in your eyes. So people have to definitely watch out about that. You said have the bucket there, have the parents there to be the ones to launch this off. Every year there's stories across the country of tragedy that strikes when folks play with these fireworks outside of their recommended use, which is light and get away.
Correct. And every year, the fire service, the folks in the fire service, we see and we hear the stories of the casualties, both the injuries and yes, we do have deaths as related to even the consumer fireworks. And that's certainly something that we don't want to witness or even have occur here in Mason County. One person being injured and or dying in Mason County is one person too much.
I've been seeing some releases from the state fire marshal, just reminding folks to be extra cautious out there. And again, after this year, I guess it's really going to be up. We're just going to have to reassess where we are. But do you think that it will be still a re-push to head back to large group gatherings for the safety of the fireworks, or do you think that this year will kind of continue on down the road?
Well, along with everything else that we've experienced since COVID has come into our new normal. I just don't know. I don't know what's going to what the new normal is going to look like. Whether we're going to have large gatherings and public displays of fireworks. I wish we had a crystal ball as to look like what 2021 is even going to look like. It's hard to say. I know that even Alderbrook, who is going to have a fireworks display, is even restricted who will be able to attend that. Having no Forest Festival this year has certainly put a damper on things for us. So it's just going to be interesting to see what 2021 is going to look like for us.
State Fire Marshal's Office have some numbers. Back in 2019, 269 injuries were reported. That's up 30%. 80 fires were reported due to fireworks, about $500,000 in loss. 98 injuries were caused by holding onto fireworks after lighting them. And then 51 of the 80 fires right around the 4th of July classified as wildland or vegetation fires there. So that's kind of a look at what the State Fire Marshal's Office has been reporting from 2019. Central Mason Fire and EMS Chief Mike Patti, also Shelton Fire Marshal, on the line now talking to us about this weekend and how we can remain safe. Mike, it was really good to talk with you, and glad to hear that you guys are still continuing to keep your eyes, of course, on wildfire season, which we are in the middle of, as well as what could happen here this weekend with the 4th of July.
It's always a pleasure to be on to talk to you guys, and I appreciate the time you give us.
Good talking to you, buddy, and have a good 4th, and yeah, we'll see you in studio before too long, hopefully.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Jeff.
All right, Mike.
Take care. We'll see you. Bye.
You're listening to Daybreak on iFiber One News Radio.
Good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes here on the Daybreak program. We're going to check in with the Economic Development Council of Mason County, and there's no one better to talk to than the Executive Director, Jennifer. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. I felt like that kind of needed some sort of rousing back soundtrack on it.
Oh, don't worry. I'll add all that in post-production. We had Karin on, I think it was last week, and we were talking about the Enterprise for Equity Mason County Micro Business Relief Grant Program. And Enterprise for Equity is online at enterpriseforequity.org. Mason County's EDC is choosemason.com. We're going to put the links to this in the show notes because it is a unique URL to get to. But it was extended for the deadline for applying for this. Is that right?
It was. So I think what ended up happening was we have had 2 microbusiness relief grant programs. The EDC housed one. We started going, I believe it was at the beginning of this month. Then Enterprise for Equity came and decided to switch over what their contract was with the county and move those funds into a grant as well. So it ended up being from 2 different pots of money, but very similarly named. So I think people thought if they applied for one, it went to the other. So we're just making sure that we're getting the word out there that the Enterprise for Equities the EDCs has closed. We've gone through the process. We've notified those that haven't been selected and pushed them over to the Enterprise for Equity one as well, because it's the same kind of group of businesses that we're looking at. But Enterprise for Equity's submission for applications got extended to this Friday. So if you meet the requirements, please go and fill it out. They have funds for businesses.
Looks like the deadline will be 5 o'clock on the 3rd here as we get ahead to the weekend. I'm looking through the frequently asked questions about applicants and their eligibility. They have been officially in business since May 1st of 2019, a federally legal business, and owned by low to moderate income earning individuals. Now, that's kind of an interesting one because, it seems to me like that would be looking at their personal income versus the business income.
That's correct. And I think that's where we're getting the most hiccups from our businesses is that they don't know whether or not they fall into that category. It is because of where this money comes from there are requirements to get it to a specific set of people, and that is the low to moderate income individuals. So when you're looking at your business, if you've been in business for at least a year, you are looking at you as the owner, the CEO, the managing director, whatever your title is. If you are that top person in your business, then it looks at what your take home from the business is. So your salary, what you pay yourself if you're a sole proprietor, what you take home versus what you put back into the business. We're looking very specifically at what your household income is for you, the person. So they've laid it out pretty well on what that household could look like. If you are married, your spouse doesn't work, and you have 3 kids, then you would go to the 5-person household and look at what your income is so that you could see whether or not you are eligible for this particular pot of money. We have other pots that are coming for those businesses as we continue to come out of our stay-at-home protection order, as places are opening up and seeing a little bit better what those impacts are to them. We've got different pots of money for those, but this one is specific to those very, very small, like we named it, micro businesses that are often overlooked when you're looking at even the small business grant that we did with Commerce that focused on 10 and under employees. A lot of businesses that were there for that could potentially, as long as they fit that income earnings, work for this one as well, but they might not have been selected because at that point you're looking at number of employees that you can retain. That's what we did with the Commerce one. So 10 employees, 8, 7, 6 are always going to outrank your one employee when you're looking at it based on jobs numbers. So this was really focused on helping those individuals that aren't going to be highly prioritized in a different grant system.
Enterprise.
If that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, it does. Enterprise for Equity, again, is online at enterpriseforequity.org under training programs. And again, we'll put the direct links to this, but if you're just tooling around the website, the drop down on training programs will show you Mason County and Mason County Micro Business Relief Grants. That's where you want to click on that. What is the relationship you guys have with Enterprise for Equity throughout Mason County? I know they're an Olympia-based 501c3, but how much work do you guys do with them?
A lot more over the past few years. If you have been watching the EDC or looking for different training options in the area, we started partnering with them about 2 years ago with the North Mason Chamber, WSU Extension, and brought in that business builder training course that we've been doing. It is not stopped now, but it has stopped now because of COVID, and you're not able to kind of gather together like that, or you weren't when we went for it. The county has still applied for funds to continue that training program, so you'll start to see that roll out as well as we start back up with that. But we've been working with them on and off for years. They are very specific in Mason County in providing training for small businesses. Money 101, if you've seen the flyers for that, that's the training that they provide. Fiscal responsibility is very important to getting those individuals to a place where they can start a business. So we're covered by our surrounding counties in our business counseling, and they are just another service that helps us provide that to our businesses.
I'm just kind of looking over these questions that are going to be in this application, and it's kind of bringing up some other questions I have for you. When I look at some of these, it says, what is the business's debt to income ratio? Okay, that is something that you would hope businesses would have. Copy of your balance sheet, copy of your monthly P&Ls, stuff like that. Have you found that the businesses that have been applying for either this or the variety of grants that you guys have been facilitating, that for the most part and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but I'm just wondering how.
Well, I have to answer it now.
No, you don't have to. Plead the fifth or something. You can just. I'm wondering how well are the businesses and the business owners with this information? Do you find that for the most part they have all this readily available, or is this opened up and ripped off a Band-Aid of people are running their businesses and now it appears that they don't know what they're doing?
Well, I think to answer your first question is we are seeing a lot of different ways that the businesses are tracking their finance. There are ways that are hyper detailed, and then there are some that are less detailed. But depending on your size of business, it's not necessarily a cause for concern. If you produce one product very slowly over the year and you can maintain a very clear, detailed financial record, handwritten, and that's comfortable for you, as long as you can really kind of back that up with your tax forms that you have to still file because you are a business, then that is less concerning than, say, if a business had 10 employees and all of that was done by hand.
Sure.
It really is a range, and we do run the gamut, but I think that's one of the reasons why the Business Builder course really started taking off, because of that financial education that happens. There are a lot of things that businesses have to do in order to be successful, to stay in business, to make sure that you're filing the right tax reports to the federal government, with your business license at the state level. Being able to have those questions gets us to a place where people's reports look more formatted, more uniform. And so when we're processing grants, we're not having to learn each different way that the business has done it. They're becoming more uniform. So I think our businesses are getting to a better place. Some of them are definitely starting out on a stronger foot than others, but we have not had a problem getting any of the financial documents that we need for the grants from the businesses.
That Business Builder course is on choosemason.com. Hover under Business tab, go down to Business Builder course. It's a free program for Mason County residents. First step is just informative sessions, and there's a workshop. And then there's a 10-week business planning program. And maybe it's been a long time since you've gone over this for your own business, or you're taking the leap to start your own. A good footing is definitely a must these days, especially. Mm-hmm. So get more information on that at choosemason.com. Well, we are following along with this, and as more grants and abilities for folks to receive some monies from all the different entities out there, let's get you back on and we'll talk about that. And then I think down the road we'll have some more announcements, Mason County specific. How's that sound?
I think that's a great segue to the next conversations, because I know that the county is looking to really support our small businesses. Commerce is getting additional funds for their grant program that released back at the middle of April. So it's taken us a little bit longer to get those financial support systems in place for our businesses, but they're there now. So I encourage the businesses to keep checking back, because what might have taken a little bit of time is now a system that's in place that should move much faster.
I noticed that too, as I'm talking with some, just on a side note, on some state workers who have been furloughed but may be eligible for unemployment and some of that CARES money. It seemed, early on during this, the unemployment office and the unemployment servers were just overwhelmed, and we've gotten back to a point where those seem a little more manageable as people try to navigate that.
Right. I do think it's also important to note that ESD, your unemployment place that you go to file, is not being required to furlough. They need every single person that they can get helping them.
And they're probably hiring.
They've definitely been retraining. They've gotten National Guard help. They've gotten different call centers being able to kind of retrofit their customer service representatives to be able to help at least funnel through some of those easier questions that can be answered. But you are correct. The state workers are able to file for unemployment, so we're definitely going to see a bump of that, but it should only be for July. Beyond that, it's just one day a month, as I'm understanding it, so they should be able to absorb that a little better.
Yeah, I think that's where they're at now. When I read that the National Guard was helping with that, I knew it was dire straits over there at the office, getting right. People on board. Jennifer, good to talk with you. The phone number to the EDC is 360-426-2276. And they're online as well at choosemason.com. You have a good weekend. Happy Independence Day. And we will see you or you and Karin or just anybody, some sort of a makeup in studio on tape here, I think next week, right?
Mask up and everything.
That's
yep,
it. Masks and everything. All right, Jennifer, good to talk with you.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's Daybreak with Jeff Slakey podcast. Again, I'm so happy and honored you found us and chose to listen. Please subscribe, rate, review, and share this with your circle of influence. It's a collection of some of the interviews, news, and conversation during Daybreak with Jeff Slakey on I-Fiber One News Radio KMAS, weekdays from 6 to 9. Thank you so much again, and talk with you next time.